Good afternoon. Yesterday, the people of London were attacked in a cowardly and a despicable way, and our thoughts today are with the victims and their families. And on behalf of the United Kingdom, I'm grateful for all the condolences that have been expressed here at the UN and for the minute's silence that was held in the Security Council. You may know that today there are victims in London from 11 nations, which goes to show that an attack on London is an attack on the world. And I can tell you from my talks here in the United States with the US government and with partners from around the world that the world is uniting to defeat the people who launched this attack and to defeat their bankrupt and odious ideology. And I say that with confidence because our values are superior. Our view of the world is better and more generous, and our will is stronger. Our Houses of Parliament in London have been attacked for centuries by all sorts of people, but the ideas embodied in those buildings, in that Palace of Westminster, freedom, democracy, the equality of human beings under the law, they are stronger than any adversary, and they will prevail. And it is in that confidence that today Londoners are going about their business as usual in the greatest city on earth. Thank you very much.
I think the big fear for many people is that the more successful the world is in dealing with Islamic State, the more desperate it is, and the more likely these kind of attacks in London and now possibly Antwerp are to happen. Can you reassure people on that account?
I can certainly tell you that today in New York and yesterday in Washington, I've seen countries coming together, including from the Muslim world, to defeat Daesh in its heartlands in Syria and in Iraq. And I think that will have a big effect. And I think that people will see that the charisma of this ghastly pull that it has seemed to exercise for the last few years on people from around the world is diminishing. Fewer are actually traveling to that place to take up arms. It is that we are exploding the ludicrous pretensions of this so-called caliphate, and I believe we are turning the tide. There is a tide of hate washing around the world, but we together globally can turn that tide, and it needs to be done not just on the battlefield but of course in the hearts and minds of those who are subscribing to these ideals. Sorry.
Foreign Secretary, two key developments this morning. One is that the man believed to be the attacker was born in Britain, we've learned from the Metropolitan Police. Another key development, it's emerged that one of the victims was American. You've talked about a common purpose, you've talked about a unity, but you must be concerned that a gap is opening up between Britain's approach to terrorism and the Trump administration's approach to terrorism, which is based more and more on banning people from mainly Muslim countries. Is that a policy that Britain will have to enforce, or do you think that's a policy that is counterproductive in taking on this threat?
Well, the threat that we all face is a global threat, and we tackle it indivisibly. We tackle it by sharing information, by sharing intelligence about our foes and those who would do us harm. And I can tell you that the cooperation between the UK government and the US administration, the US security services, is intense and will continue. And we both exercise our own protections insofar as people coming into our countries is concerned. And it's quite right that the UK should have its own system. The United States is introducing its own. We will cooperate to make sure that when we face a threat, when we have news of people who mean to do us harm, that we will work to share that information in order to foil whatever they may be preparing. Sorry.
Sorry for ITV. Yesterday, your counterpart at the global ISIS conference said that the new front line was online. What can be done to shut down, what if anything can be done to further shut down and stop people being radicalised by what they're seeing online?
Well, I do think that the responsibility for this must lie with the internet providers, with the those who are responsible for the great social media companies. They've got to look at the stuff that's going up on their sites. They've got to take steps to invigilate it, to take it down where they can. And I think everybody has a responsibility in this. I may say, by the way, that I do believe that we need to go through a period of reflection about how we transmit images of these events around the world and in real time.
Would you enforce that in any way? Would you enforce it in any way?
Foreign Secretary, South African Broadcasting. I think two narratives emerge when attacks happen, like in London. On the one hand, you have those who essentially don't want there to be any links to the Islamic world, to the Muslim world at all. And on the other hand, you have those that do want to have that link so as to justify their political ends, wherever those might be. Where does the British government find itself between those two narratives, or quite frankly, otherwise?
Well, I think that what we would say is that there is a bankrupt, odious ideology that seeks to twist and to pervert the Muslim religion, and that they need to be treated as criminals. And we need to see the very clear link between extremism of any kind and the propensity to commit terrorist acts. And that is the approach we follow in the UK. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.